Welcome guys, this is my second live stream kasi walang boses yung unang live stream ko. Just let me know kung may narinig kayo dyan na boses ko guys. Maraming salamat. Mega love shout out to all of you there. Hello, Sharat Sharat. So our topic is why is Philippine prone to typhoon? Sandali lang guys ha. Ang kada tuig, yung kinabisitahan kami diri sa Pilipinas, ang Baguio, no? Why Philippines prone to typhoon or tropical cyclone? Bakit ang Pilipinas ay palaging binibisita ng bagyo? Idea ba kayo? Hmm. Yeah. Hello, Pilipinas. Good morning, everyone. This is Passion. Juris Passion. Welcome to my live. Alright, why Philippines prone to typhoon or tropical cyclone? First and foremost, Philippines is near the equator. Malapit po kami sa equator. Thus, we receive direct sunlight and it will have more water vapor because tropical cyclone, in order to form and develop, it needs water vapor. So, mainit po ang bansa namin and we are in the uh, ano yon? We are an island composed of 7,000 plus na island ang Pilipinas. And surrounded by bodies of water. That's why na it needs water, high temperature, higher humidity, so as it can develop. Because typhoon will be stronger only in an area where there is enough to provide more water vapor na kailangan mainit. So ang water vapor is nagagaling sa tubig. na converting water vapor into gas, yung tinatawag na water vapor. Na, yes. And every year, Philippines is hit by typhoons. And no part of our country is spare. All provinces have visited by typhoon at time or another. Hmm. So, according to the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration, ang tinatawag na pag-asa. About 20 tropical cyclones enter the Philippine area of responsibility each year. Yes, mga langga. So, ulitin ko na. In the Philippines, tropical cyclones, typhoons are called bagyo. Tropical cyclones entering the Philippine area of responsibility are given uh, a local name by Philippine Atmospherical Geospheric Philippine Atmospheric Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration, known as PAG-ASA. It is a government agency which also raises public storm signal warning as deemed necessary. Around 20 tropical cyclones or storms enter the Philippine area of responsibility and typical year, and this usually 6 to 9 make landfall. Why Baguio? The term Baguio, a Filipino word meaning typhoon, na actually a typhoon is one only categories of tropical cyclone because we have four categories of tropical cyclone: that tropical depression, tropical storm, typhoon, and super typhoon. Pero sa mga Pilipino, ang apat kaya ginatawag na tanan na typhoon, bagyo. No? Pero hindi na siya bagyo lang. Ay may mga categories. Bagyo siya kung typhoon na. Eh, hindi na na siya bagyo, ang super typhoon. Ha? Ang tawag siya niya super typhoon na giniya. Ang bagyo is just a typhoon. Na-gets nyo? Kaya ginakategorize na ang tropical cyclone sa apat. Pero bisan apat na siya ang tawag sa mga Pilipino bagyo. Kaya na-use na kami nga tawag na bagyo bisan tropical depression pa lang tawag bagyo. Which is not. Pero sa amon, isa lang tawag bagyo. Pero ang right term ginatawag dyan ay tropical cyclone. Pero wala sila gagamit sa tropical cyclone yung sa di bagyo git. Ang scientific name is tropical cyclone. Bagyo or typhoon is just one category of a tropical cyclone. So, Filipino word meaning typhoon for Baguio arose after 1911 storm in the city of Baguio City had a record rainfall of 46 inches within a 24 period. Variability in activity on annual time scale, activity reaches a minimum in May before increasing steadily through June and spiking from July through September, with August being the most active month of tropical cyclones in the Philippines. Activity falls off significantly in October. Maricel Listino, shout out. Maricel, thank you. Kamusta ka dyan, Maricel Listino? The most active season since 1945 for tropical cyclone strikes on the island archipelago was in 1993 when the 19th tropical cyclones moved through the country. Through there were 36 storms that were named by Pag-asa. There was only one tropical cyclone which moved through the Philippines in 1958. The most frequently impacted areas of the Philippines by tropical cyclone are the northern Luzon, showed that at least 30% of the annual rainfall in the northern Philippines could be traced to tropical cyclones, while the southern island received less than 10% of their annual rainfall from tropical cyclone. The public storm warnings and signals. The Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration or PAG-ASA releases tropical cyclone warning in the form of public storm warning signals. An area having a storm signal may be under PHW 1 tropical cyclone if the maximum wind speed if the speed is from 30 kilometer per hour to 19 miles per hour. It is a adventure. Shout out. Good morning. Kamusta ka dyan? Ay, may jacket ka na lang ga. Pwede ka na makapaglapag. So the public storm warning signal number one, the tropical cyclone winds of 30 kilometer per hour or 19 miles per hour to 60 kilometer per hour or 37 mile per hour are expected within the next 36 hours. No. If a tropical cyclone forms very close to the area, then a shorter lead time is seen on the warning bulletin. Yes, pwede mangisda lang gala pagka ng bahay mo lang ga. Thank you so much. Public storm warning signal number 2, tropical cyclone winds of 60 kilometer per hour or 37 mile per hour to 100 kilometer per hour or 62 mile per hour are expected within the next 24 hours. The public storm warning signal number 3, tropical cyclone winds of 100 kilometer per hour, 62 mile per hour to 185 kilometer per hour or 115 miles per hour are expected within the next 18 hours. The public storm number 4. Ayan, may apat lang tayong mga signal number eh. Signal number 1, 2, 3, and 4. The public storm warning signal number 4, tropical cyclone winds of greater than 185 kilometer per hour or 115 mile per hour are expected within 12 hours. So do you know the anatomy of the typhoon, the parts of the typhoon? I will give you idea of the typhoon. Actually, typhoons has eye is located at the center. There, it is calm. Kalmada na da sa mata. Kung ara ka sa mata sang typhoon, kalma na siya. From pinakadelikado gid sa tanan, amo na ang eye wall sang typhoon. sagwa sang iya mata amo na aga cause sang extreme damage. Kung maagyan kung area sang balay sang area sang lugar, maagyan sang eyewall ng typhoon, it will create greater damage. The eyewall has these strong forces. We have the eye wall. Next to the eye wall, we have the inner rain bands. Na ang inner rain bands ng typhoon ay sa labas ng eye wall. Tapos, next to inner rain bands, meron tayong tinatawag na outer feeder bands. Na sa labas ng inner rain bands yung outer feeder bands. Yes. Malakas. Okay. Again, we have the eye. That is a part of the typhoon, the eye. At this part, the weather has no rain but sunny sky. Inner bands, the rain is harder and wind is weaker. Outer bands, the rain is weaker but the wind is stronger. Edge, both winds and rain has the same power. And how this typhoon or tropical cyclone form and develop. Worldwide, tropical cyclone activity peaks in the late summer when the difference between temperatures, aloof and sea surface temperature is the greatest. However, each particular basin has its own seasonal pattern on the worldwide scale. May is the least active month, while November is the only month in which all the tropical cyclone basins are active. Ngayon ay sa May kita least active na sa nga month sa Bagyo. That's why seldom lang gawa nagabagyo pag summer season, March, April, May. No, kay mainit na siya. Then if we have this long El Nino o long summer season na mainit talaga, so magkaroon ng La Nina by June, July, October. Naman, rainy season naman. Na? On a worldwide scale, May is the least active month. Ang November naman is the only month in which the tropical cyclone basins are active. Locations for most tropical cyclone form in a worldwide band of thunderstorm activity near the equator. Referred to as the Intertropical Front or ITF. Intertropical Front. Yung equator. The Intertropical Convergence Zone or ITCZ or the monsoon trough or trough, another important source of atmospheric instability is found in tropical waves, which contribute to the development of about 85% of intense tropical cyclone in the Atlantic Ocean and become the most cyclones in the Eastern Pacific. Ngayon naman dito sa Pilipinas, no, sa may bagyong Betty, kita, no? Keep safe everyone. The majority forms between 10 and 30 degrees of latitude away of the equator, and 87% forms no farther away than 20 degrees north or south because the Coriolis effect initiates and maintains the rotation. Tropical cyclone rarely form or move within 5 degrees of the equator where the effect is weakest. However, it is still possible for tropical system to form within this boundary. So for the movements, um, most tropical cyclone form on the side of the subtropical ridge closer to the equator when move forward past the ridge axis before recurving north and northeast into the main belt of westerlies. When the subtropical ridge position shift due to El Nino, so will the preferred tropical cyclone tracks. Areas west of Japan and Korea tend to experience much fewer September to November tropical cyclone impact during El Nino and neutral years. During El Nino years, the break in the subtropical ridge tend to lie near 130 degrees east, which would favor the Japanese archipelago during the La Nina years. The formation of tropical cyclones along with the subtropical ridge position shifts westward across the western Pacific Ocean, which increases the landfall threat to China and greater intensity to Philippines. Take care, the gaming friends. Typhoon path of follow three general directions, straight track or straight runner. A general westward path affects the Philippines, southern China, Taiwan, and Vietnam. A parabolic recurving track, storm recurving affect eastern Pacific Philippines, eastern China, Taiwan, Korea, and Japan. Northward track from point of origin of the storm follows the northerly direction, only affecting small islands. The Coriolis effect, the Earth's rotation imparts an acceleration known as the Coriolis effect. The Coriolis acceleration are collectively Coriolis force. This acceleration causes cyclonic system to turn towards the poles in the absence of strong steering currents. The polewards portion of tropical cyclone contains easterly winds and the Coriolis effect pulls them slightly more poleward. The westerly winds on the equatorward portion of the cyclone pulls slightly towards the equator, but because the Coriolis weakens toward the equator and the net drag on the cyclone is poleward. Thus, tropical cyclone in the northern hemisphere usually turn north before being blown by east. And tropical cyclone in the southern hemisphere usually turn south before being blown east. When no other effects counteract the Coriolis effect. Or landfall. Now, officially, landfall is when the center of the circulation, not its edge, crosses the coastline. Storm conditions may be experienced on the coast and inland hours before landfall. In fact, a tropical cyclone can launch its strongest winds over land yet not make landfall. If this occurs when it is said that the storm made a direct hit on the coast. Fujiwara effect. When two cyclones approach one another, their centers will begin orbiting cyclonically about point between the two systems. The two vortices will be attracted to each other and eventually spiral into the center point and merge. When the two vortices are unequal size, the larger vortex will tend to dominate the interaction and the smaller vortex will orbit around it. This phenomenon is called the Fujiwara effect. Dalawang bagyo nag-merge. Ang nagtawag nga Fujiwara effect. For the precipitation, tropical cyclone can cease to have tropical characteristics in several different ways. One such way is if it moves over land, thus depriving it of the warm water it needs to power itself, quickly losing strength. Most strong storms lose their strength very rapidly over landfall and become disorganized areas of low pressure within a day or two or evolve into extratropical cyclone. There is a chance a tropical cyclone could regenerate if it managed to get back over the open warm water. So nag-require ta na sa mainit nga tubig para more ang water vapor makasustain ta na kang uran na kag hangin. Classification, tropical cyclone are classified into three main groups. Based on the intensity, tropical depression, tropical storm, and third one groups more intense storm whose name depends on the region. But in the Philippines, we have four classification of tropical cyclone. The tropical depression, tropical storm, typhoon, and super typhoon. May apat categories. A tropical depression is an organized system of clouds and thunderstorms with the defined closed surface circulation and maximum sustained winds of less than 34 knots or 39 miles per hour. It has no eye, does not typically have the organization or the spiral shape of more powerful storms. However, it is already a low pressure system, hence the name depression. In the Philippines, the practice is to name tropical depression from their own naming convention when the depression are within the country's area of responsibility. Diri Manila, anay kapi-kapi anay. Agalon, wala pa din nagaulan sa Manila. Ediya, Edisa. Thank you, the gaming friends. Take care wherever you are. And has something to do also with your diet that may not affect your heart. Tropical storm is an organized system of strong thunderstorm with defined surface circulation. Again, sustained winds between 34 knots, 30, 39 miles per hour and 64 knots, 74 miles per hour. At this point, the distinctive cyclonic shape starts to develop, although an eye is not usually present. So the government weather services first assign names to system that reach this intensity. That's the term named storm. A hurricane or typhoon, sometimes simply referred to as tropical cyclone as opposed to a depression or storm, is a system with sustained winds of at least 34 meters per second, 66 kn or not, or 74 miles per hour, 119 kilometer per hour. A cyclone this intensity tends to develop an area of relative calm and lowest atmospheric pressure at its center of circulation. The eye is often visible satellite images as small circular clouds free spot. Surrounding the eye is the eye wall, an area about 16 kilometers 9.9 miles to 80 kilometers per kilometers 50 mile wide in which the strongest thunderstorm and winds circulate around the storm center. Maximum sustained wind in the strongest tropical cyclone have estimated about 85 meters per second or 195 miles per hour, or that is 314 kilometer per hour. Name sources. The list of names consists of entries from 17 East Asian nations and the United States who have territories directly affected by typhoons. The submitted names are arranged into five lists, and each list is cycled within each year. Unlike tropical cyclones in other parts of the world, typhoons are not named after people. Instead, they generally refer to animals, flowers, astrological sign, and few personal names. However, Pag-asa retains its own naming list which does not consist of human names. Therefore, a typhoon can possibly have the two names, storms that crosses the date line from the Central Pacific retain their original name, but the designation of the hurricane becomes typhoon. In Japan, typhoons also given a numerical designation according to their sequence of their occurrence in the calendar year. Okay, hope you learned something new. But anyway, what is a typhoon? That is a tropical cyclone. Typhoon is a storm system characterized by counterclockwise rotating air mass around a central part called eye that has a low pressure. This is Jerry Spashan, your host today. Is a science generalist. I've been studying science and teaching science as well. I have this master's in science. So I'm sharing to you concepts regarding this typhoon. Why is Philippines often visited by typhoons? How many typhoons enter the Philippines every year? According to the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration, Pag-asa, there is about 20 tropical cyclones enter the Philippine area of responsibility. Winds in a typhoon move in a certain direction. They go around a central area called the eye. The appearance of the clouds in a typhoon are in spiral arrangement. They are being blown by winds in a counterclockwise direction. And there are four categories of tropical cyclone. But for Filipinos, they just call these four categories as bagyo. Bagyo lang tawag nila na bisan tropical storm, bagyo man sa gapon, bisan super typhoon, bagyo man gapon. That is a Filipino term for bagyo. But the scientific name is tropical cyclone, not a typhoon. Because a typhoon is just one categories of the tropical cyclone. So we have one is tropical depression, which has the maximum wind speed of 64 kilometer per hour. And the other one is the number two, tropical storm with 118 kilometer per hour yung maximum wind speed niya. And the third one is the typhoon, which has the maximum wind speed of 200 kilometer per hour. And the fourth one, pinakamalakas, super typhoon. Katulad ni Bagyong Betty, super typhoon na siya kasi the maximum wind speed is greater than 200 kilometer per hour. So typhoon versus hurricane. Actually, typhoon and hurricane are the same. Only it varies its name. It depends on the origin of the tropical cyclone. Pag sa Pilipinas, sa tropical cyclone. Pag sa other states or country, that is hurricane. The term typhoon is used only in the northwestern part of the Pacific Ocean. In the northeastern part of the Pacific Ocean and in the northern part of the Atlantic Ocean, the equivalent term is hurricane. Typhoon versus hurricane. The difference is the geographical area where they occur. They are the same, but the only difference is the location where they develop. And we have the term PAR. Have you heard the PAR? It is acronym stand for Philippine Area of Responsibility. Ibig sabihin, nakapasok na yung typhoon sa Pilipinas pag nabanggit yung PAR. Na? What is PAR? Where is PAR located? Oh. Natuyoro na ko. Okay. So, paano mag-develop yung cyclones? How these tropical cyclones form and develop? So, it develop in a place where there is warm water. So, Philippines is prone to typhoon because binibisitahan tayo ng typhoon sa Pilipinas. Mga at least 20 typhoon every year dahil sa ating geographical aspect. Tayo po ay nasa equator. We are near, Philippines are near the equator. So, ibig sabihin, we have this tropical climate zone, mainit. So, dahil mainit, meron pa tayong island itong Pilipinas. So, because it is an island surrounded by water, so enough changing this water into water vapor. Ang bagyo or typhoon or tropical cyclone needs more water vapor to develop. It dies out there if landed on a cold area. Kasi malakas lang siya pag mainit. Air pressure. No. Have you heard the air pressure? Actually, these are one of the elements of the weather. Elements of weather: pressure, temperature, humidity, cloudiness, rainfall. Yan sa pagkakaalam ko eh. When I studied science, um, these elements of weather are being studied by the scientists, uh, by the meteorologists, the person who studied about the atmospheric condition. So they should know the relationship of each element. Air pressure, temperature, cloudiness, amount of rainfall, ano pa yun? Humidity. Na? Hmm. Kung mayroong bagyo, what happens to the temperature? Siyempre, kailangan mataas ang temperature. The higher the temperature during super typhoon. Kaya bago umulan, makaramdam tayo ng sobra kainit. Because during that time, during the release of the water vapor, it will release heat in the surrounding area. Kaya bago ulan, makaramdam ka ng sobrang init ka kaginot. Kaya during the process of evaporation, converting water into water vapor, nag-release siya ng init sa paligid. Sa pag may bagyo, what will happen to the pressure? There will be low pressure. Low pressure, high temperature, high humidity. What is humidity? So the amount of water vapor in the air. Higher amount of rainfall kasi may ulan yan. May heavy rain. Cloudiness niya is higher as well. So para ano siya, they are all directly proportional. Except sa air pressure. Kasi mababa yung may low pressure siya. The rest na element tataas yan. Higher cloudiness, higher rainfall, higher temperature, higher humidity. Kasi naglingin ulo nyo ha. So, let's go back to pressure. Air pressure, the lowest air pressure is found at the eye of a tropical cyclone. In fact, all tropical cyclones have low air pressure at the center. At the eye of tropical storm, wind speed is low. But in the dense cloud surrounding the eye at the eye wall, wind speed is great. Ang anatomy sa ngaton nga tropical cyclone may ara kita eye wall. May inner band kag outer band. Now, eye wall is the one that cause greater damage. Kay dyan sa eye wall ng tropical cyclone, malakas dyan yung speed. No? Wind speed is great. Calm before the storm. One side of the eye wall brings strong wind. Then comes the eye with the somewhat calm weather, followed by the other side of the eye wall. So we have also this public storm warning signals. Public storm warning signal number 1. Ano ibig sabihin? What it means, a tropical cyclone will affect the locality in at least 36 hours, winds of 30 to 60 km per hour, and irregular rain is expected at least 36 hours. This will happen. The impact. Twigs and branches of small trees are broken. Some houses of very light materials are partly uproot and unroofed. Unroofed, I mean. Unroofed ako na. Unroof. Fly away na kasi yung mga roof. Ha? Ay, no, no, no. Partially unroof lang. Hindi lahat lumilipad. Rice crop suffers significant damage in its flowering stage. What are you going to do? Watch out for big waves. Baka may storm surge doon. Listen to severe weather bulletin issued by Pag-asa. Jason Eslita, shout out. Ay, Jason, kamusta ka na, Jason? Kamusta ka na dyan? Jason, thank you so much, Jason, for visiting. Kamusta dyan? May bagyo ba dyan, Jason? Kamusta ang lagay ng panahon dyan? Public storm warning signal number 2. Ah, what does it mean? There is a tropical cyclone with winds of greater than 60 km per hour. That is up to 100 km per hour will affect the locality in at least 24 hours. What will happen? Large number of nipa and pugon houses may be partially or totally unroofed. So light to moderate damage to exposed communities. Rice and corn may adversely affected. That's why kawawa yung ating mga farmer pag may bagyo kasi nakaroon sila na billions of losses in their crops and properties because of the damage of typhoons. Ayan yung enemy ng mga farmers na sa productivity. Kasi ano talaga yan, nakakaroon ng greater losses sa crops nila kasi nasisira yan tuwing bagyo, tuwing may bagyo. Ha? Dito din naman maulan sa Manila. Ganun ba? Baka natunaw na yung bagyo. Sana mangyari na magkaroon tayo ng baha, no? The big trees may be uprooted. Many banana plants may be down. Some coconut trees may be tilted while few are broken. So what are you going to do? Avoid riding small sea craft. Magkaroon na yung accident, malunod kaning inyo nga small sea craft na it is is not allowed to ride traveling by sea, especially if you are riding in a small sea craft. Those that happens in Guimaras before because the sea craft there are small and there is a strong current in the ocean, in the sea. So there are a lot of people died because of that, and they were students of the Guimaras State University studying doctoral masters. They are the victims of the when the sea craft traveled, the small craft sea craft traveled, and it is being crushed by the strong current of the sea. It was happened before. It gone viral. Those who travel by sea and air should avoid unnecessary risks. Postpone outdoor activities of children. That is the best thing that you can do. Public storm warning signal number 3. What does it mean? Tropical cyclone with winds of greater than 100 km per hour to 185 km per hour will affect the locality at least 18 hours. Yung mga magsalik-salik, ay, 18 hours ba to do? Gaya pa tumutabo, ay, malay mo, basi mag-change karon niya ang speed niya. Maptan ka da. What will happen if we have the signal number 3 na anong tabo? Kung nga estudyante ka, wala klase. Declare secondary, tertiary. Secondary, tertiary, no class. Signal number 3 na eh. Wala kasi yun. Hmm? Many coconut trees are broken or destroyed. Almost all banana plants down, and a large number of trees are uprooted. Rice and corn crops suffer heavy losses. Majority of all NIPA, this will happen. This will be the impact of signal number 3. Majority of all NIPA and Kogon houses are uprooted or destroyed. Considerable damage to structures of light to medium construction. Widespread disruption of electrical power and communication services. Moderate to heavy damage experienced in the agricultural and industrial sectors. Avoid riding. What are we going to do? Avoid riding in any seacraft. Seek shelter in a strong building. Evacuate from low-lying areas. Stay away also from the coast and river banks. And public storm warning signal number 4. So what does it mean? Si Jason mayroong bagong upload. What does it mean? A very intense typhoon carrying very strong wind of more than 185 km per hour will affect the locality at least 12 hours. Coconut plantation may suffer extensive damage. Many large areas may be uprooted. Rice and corn plantation may suffer severe losses. Damage to affect the communities can be very heavy. Most residential and institutional buildings of mixed construction may severely damaged. Electrical power disruption and communication services may be severely disrupted. Hirap na ito dyan And what are you going to do? All travels and outdoor activities should be canceled. Evacuate also to the safe shelters. So these are the five to survive. Ano ang gagawin mo? Ano dapat mo i-keep for survival? List 5 important things that you do include in your emergency kit. Emergency kit. A representative will So every one of you there, guys, should have your emergency kit. Na? Kailangan may flashlight ka muda. May battery. Mga cellphone nyo naka-charge. May mga power bank ka muda na. Para kung gabi kita, baka mo na may flashlight ka mo na may gasiga-siga. Yes, may pamangkot. May pamangkot ka mo. Wala. So hope you learned something new. So the term bagyo, nasa Pilipino, na bagyo ang term. From bagyo or typhoon is just only one category of tropical cyclone. The right term used by scientists is tropical cyclone. The term typhoon used only in the northwestern part of the Pacific Ocean. In the northeastern part of the Pacific Ocean and the In the northern part of the Atlantic Ocean, the equivalent term is hurricane. So yung and the only difference is the only difference is the location where it forms, where they occur. But the similarity is they are all the atmospheric conditions. Pareho lang sila, pero ang kinaiba lang nila, yung location kung saan nag-originate yung typhoon or tropical cyclones. No? So, hurricane ang tawag doon sa um, northern part ng Atlantic Ocean. So, thus, a hurricane on one side of the Pacific Ocean will be called a typhoon if it crosses into the other side. So in the Philippines, we use the same word of all categories tropical cyclone. We call it bagyo, whether it is a tropical depression, tropical storm, or a typhoon or super typhoon. Hmm? Nako. Mga langga, dapat nyo tandaan na tropical cyclones need water vapor in order to form. Which that's why in the Philippines we have better source of water, warm water. We are surrounded by bodies of water, the oceans and seas. But not all parts of the ocean can provide water vapor because may ara nga ocean nga malamig. Kung malamig siya, hindi siya ka-water vapor. Ay ka-water vapor man lang na siya kung mainit ang lugar, converting water into water vapor. Sa water vapor, pag mag-water vapor na siya, mag-gas na siya mo, converting liquid to gas. Pag gas na siya, ma-rise na siya, then it will form clouds. Na? Ang unod sa cloud, amo na ang moisture. Thus, tropical cyclone require warm ocean waters to be able to develop. So according to scientists, the temperature of the ocean must be 26.5 degrees Celsius or greater para mag-develop ang typhoon. So, once typhoon landed on the cold area, it weakens and it dies out. Hope guys you learned something new guys. Ha? Thank you so much. So sa Pilipinas, ano na kami dito, sanay na kami sa bagyo. And we are aware of the tropical cyclone or bagyo. Nakahanda na yan kami, no? Nakahanda na rin yung pag-asa namin to declare something to warn us and to prepare, no? May mga broadcasting naman yan sila. Maraming salamat po sa This Is Yours Passion and signing out. Thank you so much guys for visiting my live stream. Bye.